all your other stuff, right? It's not all
I
your other
have.
syncy stuff.
Yeah, I made sure I turned notifications off. I've got no apps open other than this Chrome browser that now has two tabs open in it.
I
So
know, and that's it. That's all you got.
that's all we
That's
need. That's all we just, if you could do business with just, one browser window and one tab. I don't know
it's
about
not
you, but
possible.
like I get into Chrome. I use Chrome a lot. I get into Chrome and like the end of the day, it seems like I've got, 50 tabs open along the top. And
Yep.
then you're afraid to like shut any down. Did I need that?
No, you might need it.
You don't need it.
I,
You just kill it.
yeah, it's a little early for me, but it's end of day for you. Thanks for joining on the weekend, Scott.
One of the beauties, and I've said it time and time again, I love getting together in person. And so like an event like this is so
Yeah.
important to do AEC Acoustics because we're in the same room. We're all together. We don't have to worry about time zones. We don't have to worry about, is my browser going to work? Is my camera going to turn on? Is the microphone going to, how's my lighting? Any of that stuff, right?
Yeah, it's actually there's the term that an associate used, a good friend, he called it deposturing, because we typically
Right.
go to events where we're dressed up and we've got our finery and here's my expensive
Mhm.
watch, and now we're in t-shirts and shorts and we're kind of relaxed and we're just ourselves. It's good. And what's this in the background? This fuzzy thing on the wall. What are you doing
Oh,
there?
that one there? That
That,
red thing?
yeah,
Yeah,
right.
that's one of my newer purchases. That's an Epiphone Studio, Les Paul Studio.
Solid or hollow body?
It's
Yeah,
a solid body guitar. I could
yeah.
grab it and bring it over if you want. I just got it. It's actually a 2003 model. I purchased it off of Facebook Marketplace. It's one of those things where I've played guitar. Really badly. I've always wanted to play guitar really badly, and 20 something years later, I've really succeeded. I play really badly. No, but I think I had my first acoustic in college, which seems like a
Right.
lifetime ago now. And I've always kind of dabbled and I knew what musicians call cowboy chords, all the major open position
Oh,
chords
oh,
and normally
sure, sure.
C, G, D,
Yeah.
E, could never play an F bar chord. And, those things were always too tricky. Um, and then, started playing a little bit more and a little bit more. And now I met a person that's actually a luthier that works on guitars. He's an older gentleman. He's played his entire life.
Mm,
I took my other Les Paul to him a while back. He tuned it all up, restrung it, did all the fret work, made sure the intonation, all those technical things
right.
on setup of the guitar were correct. And then he goes, "All right, here you go." And he handed it to me. He goes, "Show me what you know." And so I just started playing, G, A, and D, basically my my old cowboy
Right.
chords. And he goes,
The
"Okay."
old go-to. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the old go tos. And he goes, "Okay." And he took his guitar. I'm in this room. And he's got like 30 guitars lining the walls of this of room the same size I'm in here. And he says, gets his guitar and he goes, "Okay, try this." And he basically played A minor pentatonic scale. And he showed me how to do it. And he goes, "Learn that. I'll see you next Friday." And I went, "Okay."
Nice.
So next
Okay.
Friday, I went
Challenge
back to
on.
his house. Yeah, I went back to his house and he showed me a few more things. We went over that again. And he's like, "Yeah." I go, "Well, this is awesome. I'd love to have lessons from you, but, what do I owe you?" He goes, "Nothing. I've just done this my entire life. I feel like
Mm.
I owe it back. I love to teach people how to play guitar. I love music." And so since then, I've, done some things for him. I got him I got him like a wireless guitar set for Christmas.
There
I've
you
gotten
go.
him some other things like that. He's never asked for a dime, and I've been seeing him well before Christmas last year, so probably 6 or 9 months, something like that. So
So you're
back to that
running you're
red thing,
running scales now?
getting better for sure. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
basically starting to learn all my
Are
my
you
major
finger
scales.
picking?
No, I'm not finger picking yet. Yeah, that's
Okay.
one thing. I have when you develop bad habits over 20, whatever, how long has it been since college? 30 plus years, a
Right,
long
right,
time
right.
ago. I've developed really, really bad habits, which is literally using a pick, but down picking everything. So he's got me trying to do like up, down
Not
picking
picking. Yeah.
exercises. So you pick a string down, but you also pick it on the way back up, which helps you with
Yeah.
your speed and things like that. For anybody that might be watching this that has no idea what we're talking about. Anyway, so he's got me into doing some of those things. We play some songs when I'm
Right.
there. So in fact, I'm playing this next coming Friday. There's an event that my good friend and yours as well, Jim Balding, is putting on next week.
Yeah.
We know
Yeah.
it's Revit's. Well, we may know it's Revit's 25th anniversary this year. In fact, the anniversary date is April 5th. We
Right.
couldn't schedule on the 5th, April 4th, which is a Friday. We're having the Revit 25th anniversary silver jubilee. He's calling it. I love how Jim's titling things. Um,
Over at his place in Orange?
Close. We're having, I
Yeah.
think, a few too many people there. He's rented a
Yeah, it's
hall
not enough
and
room.
not enough room. He's hired
What
a
a
band.
guy.
He's got a friend that's in a band, so we've got some music that's going to play in the background. And I was kind of joking with him. I at Autodesk, where I'm working at for the last 18 years, we have a little house band called Daryl and the Cats, and we get together and play occasionally. And they do guest performances with the band. So I've guest guitared with the band before. So
Oh, the one that Jim's
uh,
got coming out.
well, not with Jim's, but
Or
with
the
ours. Autodesk,
okay.
we have our own, like our team, we have a little group that we get together, and the
Okay.
name of the band is Daryl and the Cats. And so I threw out to Jim Balding, I go, hey, yeah, I've been playing with our band. I go, would this band allow any guests? And he goes, I don't know. Let me ask. Came back a little while later. He goes, yeah, you can jump in on some songs. And so myself and a couple of other attendees are going to guest guitar and then guest drum. Steve Stafford, right? Steve
Of
Stafford
course.
is a drummer, and so he's going to guest drum on a
Yep.
song. Marty Rosmaneth is going to be there. He's a drummer as well,
That's
so he's
great.
going to guest
Yep.
drum on a song. So Richard Harbin plays guitar. He's going to be there. He's going to play on a
He'll be
phone. So
there.
anyway, yeah. So anyway, it's going to be fun.
It's a good habit, of all the habits you could have, better bad habits, playing guitar is that's a good one.
It's a definitely it's a way to decompress.
Mm.
I love music. I always, as I listen to it, I'm like, oh, that sounds cool. I wonder if I could play that, and
Mm.
it's a great way just to come. Unfortunately, I do sit at a computer a lot of times. I've got a little amp right here, but I've got apps. I watch a lot of YouTube videos. So oftentimes I'm right here in my office. So it's still hard to maybe like when learning disconnect from the computer. But once you get to a point, like I think I'm at a point, grab the acoustic and just, go sit down on the couch. And it's just a great way to
You
disconnect.
can't think about much else when you're doing that.
Yeah, right.
It's good for the mental break.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's the story of that red one. Well, a
Okay.
little bit
So
you
there you
asked
go.
about it. So yeah, 2023, it's new to me. It was used on Facebook Marketplace, but man, it's like in great shape. I have a similar model, but I bought it myself back in 2008, around Christmas time. I had started at Autodesk in 2007. 2008 rolled around and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to stop by Guitar Center on the way back from my family's house my parents' house down in San Diego, and walked into Guitar Center and walked out
Don't do
with a new
that.
guitar. So
Yeah. If you do that, you'll walk out with guitars. It's what happens.
it's hard you're into music or you want to play and you go into somewhere like Guitar Center
Oh man.
or Sweetwater or any of these other cool guitar places. It's very very easy to walk out with something.
Yeah,
Sure.
it's like it's industrial art and just beautiful. So
Well, industrial.
so
It
you
looks cool just hanging there as my
I
background,
know
right?
that's
So
what the thing. You don't put it in a case, you hang them up on the wall now because it's
yeah.
like this thing that you want to display, the craftsmanship.
Like it is a cool, like I love that. It's not if you go full for guitarists, if you go full Gibson Les Paul, they've got the sunburst, they've got
Oh, it's crazy.
um the beautiful maple top patterns, right?
Yep.
So this one
Yep.
does not have that, but the finish is translucent to a degree where you can still see the grain, and so you see grain
Mm,
in it and it looks beautiful. It's got that depth to it. It doesn't have the crazy flame finish or anything like that, but it
right.
still is like pretty much a piece of art. And I was really when I first saw it, I was drawn to the red.
We'd have to talk to Steve Shell
Yeah,
to
oh
get
yeah,
those guitars.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The rock and roll architect.
Yeah, he's got a big collection. So
He
beautiful,
does. He
beautiful art.
does. We could
So
plug him
you
and just say, hey, if there's any chance that anybody that's watching this is ever in the Tucson area, you have to go see the band Shell
go see
Shock.
Steve. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
They
And
play every single weekend, different venues in and around Tucson.
he's done that his whole career. He's
Oh
not
yeah.
and he's always looking at the crowd when he plays and he's smiling and he's happy. And it's just infectious.
It's one thing I need to learn to do. I guitar like this. I still look down at the fretboard,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I've seen some things where people actually blindfold themselves and learn that way. So you can't look and you have to do the fretboard by
Interesting.
feel.
Hmm.
So yeah, I may do that someday, but yeah, I still look down. So I don't know how he does it. I don't know how most
They should
guitarists
make
do
a
it. Where
guitar collar. like they make for dogs when they've had surgery.
Yeah.
You can't, they
Shock
can't.
collar. If you look down at you,
Yeah, they make a guitar collar and you put it on, and then you have to, so you can still look around, but you can't look down.
like the cone. Yeah. The
Million
cone
dollar
machine.
idea right there, free.
I love it.
So
I love it.
you came out of architecture, although you
I
work for
did.
Autodesk now in the technical side, the sales side of things. You're
Yeah.
coming at this having worked in practice. Talk
Yeah.
about that.
So it's been a crazy career. In fact,
Hmm.
here I actually have it because I talked about it with somebody else. This is I'm not sure what the if the blur if we're going to see it.
There you
So
go.
architectural
Architectural
record.
record.
This architectural record is dated October 1999. And if you ever don't know what could ever change your career path, a magazine changed my career path. Um, the firm I was working at, I was a kind of a CAD guru, AutoCAD guru to be specific. I actually started my um, trend towards architecture in high school. My junior year in high school, I took a CAD class in VersaCAD. So if anybody remembers the old VersaCAD,
Yeah.
then my senior year, we got AutoCAD 9. I believe it was AutoCAD 9 was the first version we had there. Still DOS based at that point. I remember monochrome green screens, so you couldn't tell what color anything was on the screen. You had to
Right.
use that list command to list the properties of something, or go plot it on the pen plotter, the old
To get the
pen
color.
plotter, to get the color out. So when I got to college, we went to Cal Poly Pomona. I got my degree in architecture from Cal Poly here in Southern California, where I live currently. And I was really a guru then because I had a leg up on everybody. Everybody else was kind of taking AutoCAD Basic, and I was really like an advanced user in a basics class. And then when I got out into practice, when I left school, I graduated in 1994, showing my age a little bit.
Right.
It's been quite a while.
No, well, you mentioned
Yep,
AutoCAD 9, so that's like 89, 90, 99.
exactly. Yeah, high school I graduated in '89, so
Yeah.
94 from Cal Poly. That was the other kind of recessionary period, and there was not a lot of jobs. And I started my career by going to work for Fluor Daniel, which is now just Fluor Corp, the giant petrochem. They're known for petrochemical
Hmm.
company. They still manage the Hanford nuclear site up in Washington. They all kinds of crazy stuff like that. And they had a
But
decent
not
sized
strict
kind of
building.
no, yeah, not strict building, but they did have an A&E group that did buildings at facilities like that, and then got into doing other stuff. Started working for some cellular companies. Some of the very first things I did out of school was to design cell sites for LA Cellular, which later got bought by AT&T and became part of AT&T Wireless. So,
Okay.
claim to fame, your first job out of architecture, you've learned all this great stuff. You've studied all these great architects, and then you're designing cell sites and trying to make
Yeah,
antennas
site
look
adapt
pretty.
for cell plans. Yeah, cell services. Yep.
Exactly.
Gotta eat, gotta pay bills, so do it.
Exactly.
And you learn stuff
Exactly.
anyway. You find out
Oh
how
yeah.
other industries work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So started my career in CAD. It's a long story. I'm trying to shorten it here a little bit. Then I ended
No,
up at
it's good.
WLC Architects. WLC Architects is here in Southern California again. Primarily, and in fact, WLC does not exist today. They are now PBK Architects. They got acquired a couple years back, and now
Okay.
they're PBK out of Texas. But at WLC, there wasn't really a CAD manager, but I became kind of that CAD manager role. I tried to help getting some CAD standards set up, help create a CAD manual, do those things. And that was right around the time that Architectural Desktop, if anybody remembers the old
Yeah, yeah.
Autodesk ADT, we called it, right? And
Hmm.
ADT2 was just rolling out around October of 1999. Um, I flipped through this magazine and there's an article from this gentleman named Jim Balding that works at WATG, Wimberley, Allison Tongue and Goo here in Southern California. The article was about how Jim, the interviewee for the magazine, was talking about the trend in architecture to move away from kind of line-based CAD to more of an object-based orientation. And WATG was investigating using Architectural Desktop. And I thought it was interesting. I'm flipping through the magazine. I found the article, read it. Well, just so happens I had a friend from Cal Poly that also worked at WATG. I called up my friend Sean, spoke with him for a little bit. I go, "Do you know this Jim Balding person?" "Sure, let me patch you over." Next thing I know, I'm on the phone with Jim Balding. Not sure how much of this I can share. It's been a long time. I'm sure he's dismissed from all of his non-disclosure agreements, but
I can tell you that he
somehow
hasn't changed. That's weird. He looks the same. I've known him since
he does.
2001.
He does.
He's the same
Uh,
smiley guy.
he
Yeah.
does. Absolutely. Jim's conversation was, oh, I interviewed for that article 6 months ago. They finally published it. There's something way better coming. I've signed an NDA. I can't discuss it with you. I'm sorry. But he was super excited about it. And by the end of the conversation, he wouldn't say it, but he spelled it. He goes, go to this website. Are you ready? He goes, revit.com. Went to revit.com. He wouldn't say it. And there's a splash screen that says something great, something coming soon, with a logo. And he goes, it is coming soon. So just go to that site daily. And I did. Um, One day, maybe, I don't know, a few weeks later, I don't forget exactly the time frame. There's actually something there. It says Revit, the revolution. And there's that splashy video for the early adopters of Revit that you might remember
Yeah.
that really
320 by
targeted Autodesk.
240. I
Yeah,
think
right.
I still have a copy somewhere. I have to find it.
Somewhere of it. Yeah. And I hit download now, and I downloaded and started using Revit. And I've always said it was day one. I believe it was day one. So I was a day one
Mm.
Revit user. That changed my trajectory. I worked at WLC. I got them transitioning over to Revit. We didn't even know about BIM yet. Nobody called it building information modeling. That term
So you
got
guys were
coined
buying
later.
Revit in 2000. Okay.
We subscribed, right?
Yeah,
Because
that's
early
right.
Revit, you didn't buy it, you subscribed to it, which was a really weird model because no other software manufacturer at that point that I remember, you didn't subscribe. They were all perpetual licenses, right?
Right.
And I think it was what, $200 a month, if I remember correct, something like
200
that.
bucks a month in 2000.
Mm-hmm.
And, it really, for the company that I was at, we started using it and it seemed like it gave you a foot in and then you could be confident that you weren't being oversold on features because
Right, right.
you could try it and then they would extend the trial and then, okay, let's buy it. So how much? Well,
Yep.
200 bucks a month and you could prove
And it
it
was
as
once a
opposed to
month.
making
Like
it. Yeah. Turn it on,
if
turn
you
it off.
didn't, if you didn't make your payment or you're like, oh, I'm done with that. No harm, no foul. Move on. Which I guess was really tough for Revit Technologies Corporation as a startup to have that fluctuation potential
Yeah.
in the revenue, right? But that's how it was. It was literally like, okay, well, if you don't want it, that's fine. $200, you're done.
No, you mean, the work was coming in and out, and it just seems so flexible, as an architect's workflow might ebb and flow. This
Right.
idea that, well, if I get into a sales cycle, I could turn it off, and once I'm in production cycle, I'll turn it back on. Like, wow,
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
revolutionary. So here we
That was
are.
it. And so then I stayed at WLC for a while longer because that was 2000. The acquisition of Revit Technologies Corporation by Autodesk happened in 2002. I think word came out. The official date was April Fool's Day. I remember that because you can't forget it
I
was April
know.
1st, 2002, and
Yeah.
everybody thought it was a joke, and it wasn't.
Right, right, right.
Some trivia is in. I think I've got this kind of like semi confirmed. I think it was Matt Jezik that told me, but I don't remember exactly who it was. I had a group of Autodeskers in my office. No, I'm sorry, Revit technology staff at that point. So sorry, they were not Autodeskers. It was, I believe, Leonid was there, but Matt Jezik was there, and a few others, and they were looking at how we did X referencing in AutoCAD
Right.
to further understand how linked models might work in Revit, because at that point there was no linked models at
No,
all.
what until 2003, 2004?
Yeah, like that a little bit later, right?
Yeah.
But what was going on in the parking lot was what was significant. The then CEO of Revit Technologies Corporation, oh my gosh, name just escaped me.
Dave Lamont.
Dave Lamont, thank you. Supposedly was on the phone with Carol Bartz, the then CEO of Autodesk, and verbally agreed to the acquisition in the parking lot of the firm I was working for
There
while
you
I
go.
had Revit Technologies people in my office. So I feel like a very big part of it, right? So that
It's
was
nice to be part of something. Yeah.
right, absolutely. So I left WLC in '07, joined Autodesk in March of
Yeah, but you were
'07.
there for a long time through those. When was 2007? What is that? Autodesk? That's Revit 5, 6.
Yeah, because we
Had
weren't
they
in
even
the year.
moved to the '04 or the 2000 naming convention,
Correct.
the
We
annual
were
year?
8.1. Wasn't 8.1 the
Yeah.
last kind of decimal release
Maybe
before?
9? I don't
Was it?
remember
Yeah,
now.
maybe it was 9. Yeah. I think they were worried about
Yeah,
getting to 13 and then having
that's
to,
right.
so we went to yearly based, and when it went to 2013,
So
I
in
guess we didn't.
2007, you went to Autodesk.
Yeah, I joined Autodesk in 2007 as a role that we call a technical specialist.
Hmm.
Really part of our sales organization.
Sure.
I've never felt like I'm a salesperson. I always have felt like I'm part of that group. There are other individuals that are in a different team that actually perform the sales part of it, right? Which is
Hmm.
like going to the customer, negotiating the contract, signing the deal, all of that stuff. I don't do any of
That's
that.
right.
My role is to go to customers and essentially say, here's the product. Early days was all Revit all the time, right? And so it was basically showing off Revit at that point and saying, we can make your work more efficient. If you're still working in AutoCAD today, even if you're working in what became AutoCAD architecture, the old ADT,
Right,
architectural
right, right.
desktop became AutoCAD architecture or ACA. We acronym everything, as you guys probably know. So, we were looking at that, or if you're using something different, different competitor
Mm.
software. My job was to go in and show the efficiency gains you could get with Revit. And of course, at that time, it was easy because you just went in and showed the basics of Revit. You started drawing something, you drew a section through it, and you went, here's the section, right? Here's the
Right,
elevation, here's the
right.
3D view, right? And most architects at that point were like I was when I first saw Revit, which was, jaw on
Oh,
the
yeah.
floor. Like,
I move the door
wow.
in the plan and it moves in the elevation. Okay, I'm done. I'm done.
Stories from my WLC days. We never did this in AutoCAD days, but I was fortunate enough in my role. I had a laptop and I was actually part of production team. So I was a PM project manager. I was running my own jobs, designing my own stuff. And I remember going, you know what? I'm going to take my laptop to this presentation. And I took the Revit model we were working on, and at the client's office, threw it up on no screens at that point. We didn't have the big screens yet. It was, you brought a projector and
Right.
you had it on the wall. And I remember talking to them and talking about the design and going through the floor plan. And then one of the participants in the room goes, "Hey, can we move that door down?" Like, sure. And I moved the door down, and basically we're done. Like, the old day, right? The
Yeah,
old days, I would have had to make that note, redline it, figure it out, go back
right.
to the team. Hey, they asked to move this door down by 2.5 feet or whatever it was. I did it live in front of the client, and it updated my drawing set, and I was done, and
Yeah.
the client was happy. They got the visualization. Maybe the one caveat to that is that we made it look too easy, because then the next meeting was like, oh, you can make all those
Let's just
changes.
move,
It's
move
no, it's
stuff.
no
It's
big deal.
easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just change this, change that. We're
So
going to
it
have to,
sounds like
we're
your
going to,
role is You go in and empathize with a customer. You listen to what they're trying to accomplish, and you show them how
That's
to do
really
it.
what we do as technical
Mm.
specialists is and the job the title has remained the same. The software in the background has obviously evolved.
Oh
um,
yeah,
I rarely show Revit anymore. There's not a need to. Most of my days today are in cloud, all of our like Autodesk Construction Cloud kind of things. But it's really that is to go listen to the customer. How are you guys doing your work today? Yes, you're an architectural firm, but you architectural firm X do things different than your competitor down the
that's
street,
right. Yeah,
architectural firm
yeah,
Y. This is your tech stack compared to their tech stack. How are you guys doing things? What are you working on? Are you working on hospitals? Are you working on hospitality? Are you in education? Um, hey, look, you use all of this stuff today. Possibly we can help you out, make you more efficient, move you over to like, let's say Autodesk Construction Cloud, get an AEC collection where you've got Revit plus AutoCAD plus, Navisworks plus like the full suite of
yeah.
things that you
Forma.
might
There's a
need.
bunch of other stuff there.
Forma
That's
in
right.
there, right? Our industry cloud for sure. So it's really that it's understanding how our customers are working, and then trying to make suggestions to them about how they might be able to do their work better. Because what we're seeing is, even back when I was in practice, we were crunched. It was, you have a schedule and a deadline and a budget, and it seemed like we were always over schedule. It seemed like budgets were always, margins were razor thin. And I've been out of practice for some time, but what I'm hearing from everybody is that hasn't changed. It's gotten worse, right? Things
Mhm.
are even more squeezed today than they used to be.
Yep. So you're coming to the best practice roundtable event,
I am for the
end
first
of,
time.
end of April, April
Mhm.
28th through May 2nd. Tell us what you're going to do.
Oh man. So,
You've got
can't
something
give,
new to show
we
us.
do. We have some new stuff. I can't talk dates yet because this is going to the
Yeah,
public, but soon.
that's right. Yeah, don't tell us what it is, but you're going to be showing us some new stuff.
Sure. Yeah. We'll be showing you some new stuff for sure.
That's great.
Yeah, we're going to jump in. We're going to be able to walk through some of the newest features. Um, we could do this. I think originally I had set up the roundtable to discuss something in particular, but I think in my head now that can expand because I don't think what we're doing in practice today is BIM isn't one thing. It's a lot of people get that
Yeah, this is not a
misconception.
presentation. This is the discussion, and you're going to be
It's a
able to move
discussion,
around
right?
between
Yeah.
things.
So
Yeah.
what I would love to do is have the group. Obviously, we want participation in a roundtable, but here's this new thing. Get the
Yeah.
reaction, and then if it leads down the road and says, "Hey, but what about this other thing?" and
Right.
how come Autodesk hasn't thought of this yet? Any of those little nuggets of
Yeah. Yeah.
information that I can get and then take back to the product teams, and then we can run with. I mean, we try to stress it and we talk about it every year at product release, like, Revit 2026. If you look at history, Revit 2026 is right around the corner,
Yep.
generally this
Yeah.
this time frame. But many of the things that get released in that come from the wish list that's on Revit, the Revit ideas page, I guess I should say. So there's a website, a URL that you can go to, and you can browse through what's already there. You can thumbs up things and basically kind of move them up, vote for them, move them up and down the stack.
Right.
You can post your own ideas there. Those things get looked at by the product teams and oftentimes get put into production. I know there's a lot of those. There's a lot of things that people have asked for a very long time that just haven't
Yeah.
made it.
No.
But
Sometimes things move slow, and there's priorities. But I've often found you and Harlan and the rest of the team to be very empathetic. And even when you can't do something, you explain why. So it's
right,
not just it's just not a hard no. It's like, okay, well, there's this other thing that has to happen first, and then you understand the context. And
yeah,
that's evolved over the years because that kind of approach to customer discussions, even openly now, the things that you guys talk about in public forum, and there's always a caveat at the
yeah,
beginning that wasn't there 10, 20 years, 20 years ago. And
right,
now it is. I think it's very customer facing because if you're going to give a customer a hard no, explain why and give
exactly.
them some context. So it's,
I remember a long time ago, one particular release of Revit. There was some beta testing going on, and it's never been implemented to this point, as far as I know. They had worked on. We have obviously in Revit call out symbols for sections and elevations and other things. There was going to be a call out symbol for camera views, for 3D views. So if you drop that in, you could say that was on that 3D views on sheet
That
a
is my
4.0.
request from Revit Technology. And Leon was like, "What are you trying to do?" That goes back a while.
Was that actually your? So that goes back a
Yeah,
ways,
like I
but
would say that was back in 2001.
it was a long time
Yeah,
ago. But
yeah,
it
that, yeah.
went through a bunch of testing, went through beta, and this is after linked. As far as I remember, this was after link files had come about. But for some reason, that tool in beta wrecked linked files. Like it did. That's the story I heard.
Really?
And yeah,
Okay.
something happened where we couldn't implement it because it hosed everything else so badly. So yeah, there's always those why, like, and sometimes they don't make sense.
Oh,
This one
interesting.
doesn't make
Okay.
sense to me,
Yeah, I
but
wouldn't think that a tag for a camera
well,
would would break linked files, but who
you don't,
knows?
you never know in programming, I guess. And I'm not a programmer to that
It's
degree
easy for
where
people that don't do programming. I can just imagine
sure.
it. It should work. Yeah, it
It's
doesn't.
just right. I mean, yeah,
I can
it
think
should
of
be
it.
easy. Just make it happen. There's a lot
Right.
of those things that, and there's still things on the Revit ideas page today that seem so simple to do. But for some reason they
Yeah,
just
that
can't get them done.
request came out of a project type. I'll just say they had a lot of security cameras.
Mm,
This was 2000, so it was after I was working for Revit, spring of 2001, and they had security cameras for this particular project everywhere. And they were placing cameras and wanted that camera direction icon and then the
hmm.
sheet of what that camera would see.
Yeah.
And I just had someone within the last few weeks. It wasn't the same. It was another, I think for this particular project, it was an airport and they were
Mm.
placing cameras at different locations and they wanted to see what the camera would see. But in this case, they wanted it in Revit and they wanted to see it in Enscape. So they wanted to be able to
Oh,
track it. It's still
interesting.
a
That's cool.
thing. Yeah.
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 There's a so as things evolve, there's a really cool feature. It's actually been for quite a while. It was actually in BIM 360, and it's also in the Autodesk Construction Cloud side of things. Or I like to call it. I'll probably get in trouble. I like to just call it the Autodesk Cloud. It does have construction in the name, but for me, it's a tool or a platform
It's
that's
an
meant from
aggregate location. And
it's designed all the way through even maintenance and operations. So anyway, the Autodesk Cloud side of things, we have a tool that's called Place Me, which I always relate to the Google Street View, little orange guy in the corner. You drag and drop him on a
yeah,
map.
drag them on the street.
Right, you drag him on the street and he shows you the 3D view. Well, we have that in ACC in a view. So you have the ability in a floor plan to go drag and drop this little guy in. Suddenly you get a 3D view, and then you get the little icon that says, here's the cone of vision. This is where you're looking. And you can, as you look around, your cone of vision changes to map out where you're standing and what you're looking
Yeah, it does
at
that in
that point in
Google
time.
Street View. You can kind of tell
Yeah,
which
yeah.
direction you're looking at. Sure.
Sure. So we have that in ACC from Revit views as well, right? So over time, some of the stuff makes its way into desktop software, where other kind of these tools make their way into the
Right.
extension of these products, something like the Autodesk Cloud.
Yeah, that's an upstream thing. I'd like to have that in Revit, please.
Yeah,
I
right.
kind of do
For
actually.
sure, for sure.
Yeah. So you had
No, but
this.
I'm
So
looking forward to the event. So, oh,
you've come out
sorry.
of practice. Yeah,
Yep.
you've come out of architecture. You had an early adopting mindset towards
Hmm.
technology, and yeah, you connected with Jim Balding. I mean, all of this is fortuitous, but it's fantastic. And now you guys are going to see
Connect
each other
to
in a few
you.
weeks. At
Exactly. I knew you from the Revit Technologies days. So, yeah.
yeah, that's when I knew Jim at WAT&G. I think it was in this. I think it was in 2001. It was before the acquisition. And no, but yeah, the event's special. It's not a well, we don't have alcohol, right? For a week, we bring a French chef, but we don't have alcohol, and it's meant to be a quiet week, right? We unplug on
Does he
Monday.
does he does he do a little flambe with some wine glaze? Maybe
He,
he's a friend.
if we ask him, he can do anything. Chef Charles is amazing,
I've
and
seen some videos. I'm looking forward to that.
yeah,
I'm a foodie.
you
So.
know, his son works for Autodesk. Adrian,
Really?
yeah,
Oh,
Adrian
okay.
Sameo he's in HR in EMEA. Great guy.
Very
So
good. Okay.
yeah, we have a quiet week. I mean, it's focused effort on these discussions, these industry discussions, and trying to figure out best of breed solutions. And I mean, you're going to be here the first time. I'm really looking forward
Yeah.
to this because I get to see things. I feel like we'll all get to see things at the inception of their availability,
Yeah.
right? And the value of getting my head around that. And Adam and the other attendees it's just a great head start. And
Sure.
I think you've been looking forward to going for a while, so it's going to be great to see you there in your natural element, right? In the
Yeah.
middle of the
Yeah. Very much so. Well, here's
Yeah.
what I love about it. Like, so many times you'll log in and you'll see a quote unquote like what's new presentation, right? And
Mm.
it's the product teams talking at you. You learn about the stuff.
Yeah, but it's very
Uh,
presentation-y, right?
it is, and
It's
you could
this kind of a
drop
transaction, sure.
drop something in the chat or the Q&A of the webinar, right? But doing it in this forum is, hey, here's this thing. Here's how we came. Here's how the team. Let's say it's Revit. Here's how the Revit team came to um, the conclusion that this tool was needed, was necessary. It came out of Revit ideas. Here's how it was born. Here's how it got iterated to some degree. Now here it is, and
Mm.
get the immediate feedback from the teams. That's one of the beauties of being live with the group
Well,
and
the
right in
theme
front of
for the
everybody, right?
event, the theme for this year is better storytelling through technology, like just not
Mhm.
technology for technology's sake, but
Right,
what you just described is this story context of where did the idea come from and what was the process and how it has finally evolved and here it is. So
right.
that's always great to know as well, as opposed to go, here's a thing that does a thing. It's like, well, what's it trying to
Sure.
do? What was the problem that it tried to solve? And having that context is so important.
And the group goes, why did the Autodesk team decide on that thing? Right. So,
Why not my thing? Why not the camera with the tag in it?
right.
I've
Totally.
been waiting for that
We
for
still need that.
25 years.
We still
Yeah.
need that.
So a bit of
We still need
trivia
it.
as we wrap up.
Oh, okay. All
I
right.
know. Okay.
Can I
Has
Google on
Revit?
the other screen?
You can. That's right. You can have ChatGPT open here over the side. And has Revit, since you knew Revit from early days, has the cost of Revit kept up with the rate of inflation?
Oh, good question. My first thought
Because
is,
how
what
much
is the
in 2000? What was the cost of Revit?
So in 2000, it was a subscription model. We talked about early monthly, right?
Yeah,
$200 a
two
month
hundred
was
dollars
a,
a month.
so now what is the rate of
So twenty four
inflation?
hundred dollars a year in 2000. What is that worth
Okay.
now? $4,400.
Wow. Okay. 4,400. So I'm trying, like I said, I usually don't discuss pricing. So if I
No,
went to
it's
our
like if you want
website
to
right
buy
now,
Revit, it's like
yeah,
twenty
where are
seven
we at?
hundred dollars, I think. And I
There we
know it's
go.
always everything seems more expensive, but when I
Hmm.
look at Revit's $2,700, I think I'll buy some. I think I'll just move up to a bundle. Now I'm still under. I need to
Sure.
collaborate. So
Hmm.
are there any tools that I can use to collaborate? And now
BIM
it's like a
Collaborate Pro.
wash. I
Sure.
know I can. Oh man, when we used to have to set up the old, what was the
Revit
old
server.
collaboration? Oh my gosh. There was
Revit
so
server.
much
Yeah.
machinations. Like, how can I get rid of this thing fast enough, right? Who's going to host the central file? And there are all these cloud mechanisms. Actually, there were whole companies that came up trying to figure this out. They still might be
We,
out there.
Revit,
And
our
it's
Revit
so
cloud works in,
transparent.
yeah. Sorry,
So it's like if
the
I add all of that stuff now, I'm like at what it cost back in 2000, but I'm getting all this other stuff because, hey, it's not just Revit architecture. There wasn't Revit structure until, Nicholas was working on it, I think, in secret in 2004. Systems didn't come
Mhm.
along too much later.
Right.
They were
And remember, it
separate
was called
products.
Revit Systems. It wasn't Revit MEP. It
And
was
now
called Revit Systems.
it's all integrated. And the
Right.
cost of doing this is still concurrent to $2,000 in $2,000.
Sure.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
People, often we just talked about new features and you didn't get your camera call out icon, but the amount of progress I think that Revit has made in 25 years. You just mentioned the fact that, so here was the other thing. Originally you bought, because we were in perpetual license there, you bought Revit architecture, or you bought Revit structure, or you bought Revit
Mm,
MEP. When it became MEP out of systems, today you just subscribe to Revit and you get all of those tools and functionality. Like, even as an
yeah,
architect, if you want to use, instead of the kind of generic structural member, you can go to the Revit structures tab and go to the steel catalog and grab what you anticipate is the real thing, or what you maybe think looks right in the design. And then your structural engineer can verify that, right? And
right.
maybe the member size changes, but all inclusive, on that
I
side
know
of
it's
things. So
crazy.
yeah.
Like integrated, it's connected, it works across industries. And the thing when I looked this up in preparation for you and I chatting, I was like, this is concurrent to present dollars. Like $4,400 is relative to $2,400 in 2000. So I should complain as a shareholder. Hasn't gone up in price enough.
It hasn't gone.
It hasn't gone up enough. Why is it the same price relative to inflation?
You're the
This
only
can't
one I think
stand.
I've ever heard that has said that. So the other thing that you mentioned is, I think probably one of our most successful tools. You mentioned Revit Cloud Work Sharing, which is now known as BIM Collaborate Pro, right? So I'm not on the naming
Right.
committee, unfortunately, but so
No, no,
Autodesk
no.
BIM
There's
Collaborate
teams for
Pro,
that.
yeah, ABC Pro. Um, Talk about a tool that was ripe for the industry. It came out just as, it came out as Project Skyscraper. So some people remember it as its code name, Project
Yes.
Skyscraper,
Yeah. Yep.
several years ago. In fact, we just had the 10-year anniversary of Project Skyscraper, believe it or not. Um, some firms kind of jumped on it early on because they saw the value in it. Like you said, Revit Server as a tool was always meant as a collaboration tool for a firm that was on a local area network and a wide area network. It was an SOM that had an office in New York and one in Los Angeles, and they had a wide area network that connected those two offices, and they could set up an instance of Revit Server in one office and one in the other, and work share across those things, right?
Right.
And then everybody went, but what about my consultants? And they started doing funky stuff to try to make that Revit Server work outside of the firewall, which in today's terms was a huge security risk. But
Right.
literally setting up a server that lived, quote unquote, lived
Other
how
people
I was
could connect to.
other people
Crazy.
could connect to. And
Yeah.
then Revit Cloud Work Sharing came along and went, you don't have to do any of that. And
Yeah.
then several years later, we had this little thing called COVID. And in one day, everybody was in the office. And the next day, nobody came to work. And they said, how do we work? And fortunately, I guess, for the Autodesk users, the Revit users, we had a tool for that and allowed people to go back to work relatively, I don't want to say instantly, but relatively quickly.
Yeah. Desktop to cloud. Not
Desktop
desktop
to
to
cloud. Yeah.
server to. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. I
I
can't.
remember
The
work.
number of
Right.
the number of large companies that are now trying to divest themselves of physical server side infrastructure, and their email is being hosted by Google. Their projects are being hosted by Autodesk. Their email,
Sure.
yeah, I mean, it's just one thing after another. The servers somewhere else. I just need to get to my stuff. As long as I can get to my stuff, and that's what Autodesk that's done that I really like, which is my files are still on my local workstation, right? I can work on things, and I save to Central. Where's Central? I don't know, but
Right.
it works.
And here's some cool, you want some fun facts. So this was because it was the 10-year anniversary. Some of the stuff got discussed internally. Sorry, I have to look at my other screen away from the camera here for a moment, but
It's a
um,
cheat sheet.
it's a cheat sheet. If you watched, I just pulled it up because I had to remember where it was. It's actually in Slack. We use Slack a lot internally. Uh, so the service now, the Revit Cloud Work Sharing service serves more than 4 billion requests per week now worldwide. We host more than 33 petabytes of customer data on it.
Hmm.
Um, there are more than 240,000 active projects each month that are being hosted through the cloud. That's unbelievable in 10 years, the amount of scaling that was necessary to go from, hey, we have a few projects in the cloud to then,
To
you know,
240,000 active
yeah,
projects.
a pandemic hits and then suddenly everybody needs to work that way. And since then, we've
Right.
expanded it because it's not just Revit any longer. We've gotten the civil engineers involved. So there's a thing that's collaboration for civil that works through the same ABC Pro, which allows the civil engineers in Civil 3D to work through the cloud for their data shortcuts and things and share those projects directly inside the projects that are set up in
Right.
the Autodesk cloud. And so now as an architect, I just go link in their civil file, and in the newest versions of Revit, it makes topography for me, right? The new topo solids for me automatically from those. So we're getting some of those data relationships really, really hammered out between even kind of disparate pieces of software. Like even in your day with the Revit team, like AutoCAD and Revit, while they played together, haven't always played great together, right? They're different
Yeah.
pieces
Yeah.
of software.
You had to be careful about things. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Look,
So yeah, there's
this is
lots to talk
fantastic.
about. So these are the
Yeah.
things I hope that during the roundtable discussions at the event that get brought up and we can discuss in more detail.
Time for discussions. Yeah. It's the discussions after the presentation. It's not this transactional presentation, but it's time for people to really
Did I hear
discuss,
you say
interact, and
it's the non-conference conference, or did I make that up?
it's the unconference. It's
Unconference
the
conference. Okay.
yeah, that's why we call it AEC Acoustics. And I thought it
Mhm.
was a nice metaphor, and so did Adam. But the number of times I've had people say, "Are you doing a conference on acoustics and architecture?" It's like, no, it's it's acoustics because it's the unplugged version of the other events that we
Mhm.
love. But this is the
Don't you
fun,
guys remember MTV Unplugged? I mean, it's the acoustic
right?
versions of the band, right? So
Yeah, 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 yeah. We were
so many of the people in the industry today are we're that generation, Phil, and many people are not. They don't know what
is
MTV
MTV still
Unplugged was.
around?
I think so, but I don't think they play music anymore.
I mean, there's YouTube. I don't know. Right, right.
Yeah,
They just do TV
yeah,
shows. Well, I'll
yeah,
see you in what's today, the 30th. Well, here it's the 30th. It's your 29th. So it's about 4 weeks ish away.
yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, looking forward
North
to it. It's
Florida,
gonna.
28th, 27th through May 2nd.
Yeah,
Arrive on Sunday. Your
and I
tickets are
heard you
off.
talk to Scott Brown a little bit about because you did an interview with him. I think that's already been published, and you talked a
Look,
little bit about it's
I'm not
it's in
excited
Tuckney
about this,
Springs.
am I?
Did I
Yeah,
say
yeah,
it's in
it just took
Tuckney
me spring.
correctly? Anyway,
That
so
is correct. Yeah, yeah,
there's
yeah.
the Springs, which is kind of like the pre team building event before we get to the
Yeah.
roundtables, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Turn
definitely
your
looking
phone
forward to
off,
that.
keep your camera, go down the river together, catch up, decompress, deposture. What Scott's doing, I mean, this is the thing that I'm looking forward to the most, and your session. But what
Thanks.
Scott is doing with documentation, which I saw at AU last
Hmm.
year, I've never seen in the world. And as I mentioned to Scott that night after he showed me, I dreamt about it and I woke up and told him the next morning, I'm like, this is one into my head. He's returning to first practices with technology and he's simplifying the documentation process orders of magnitude.
Mm,
And this is the kind of thing where, technology doesn't just build features. Good technology simplifies workflow. Like with Revit, when the door moved and it moved in my elevation, I was like, oh, okay,
right,
if it does that kind of thing everywhere, I'm done. That
right.
wasn't just new feature, that was a reduction in complexity. Now, complexity has
Absolutely.
come in other areas, right? We
Hmm.
want other things. What Scott's doing to me is profound. And people that are attending are going to adopt this workflow back in their office.
Oh,
Like, I,
amazing.
I even texted Scott the other day and said, we should give this workflow a name, like it's the Brown documentation process or something. He needs to get credit for this in the eyes of
Sure.
history because it's it's profound what he's done. And
All right.
he's just so Scott about it. He's just like, yeah, I was thinking about this thing and it does this thing, and how can we make it easier for the contractors? He just figures it's so beautiful. So look
You
forward
got
to
me
seeing you.
sold and intrigued. I can't wait for his
Yeah.
session now. So
So it's
is
gonna
it
be good.
also the idea that like there's so the big conferences, you mentioned one of them there that happens to be ours,
Yeah.
but the big conferences, uh, all the classes compete with each other. So in one time slot, there's 12 things you want to go to, and you can't obviously be all over the place. At AEC Acoustics, it's one at a time, right?
Yeah. What we aspire to is at the big conferences, let's say there's 10,000 people, and in the
Yeah,
architecture industry, there's 3,000. And of those 3,000, there's probably 30 to 50 people that I really want to catch up with. I mean,
yeah,
if you're lucky, you have everything flies by, it's so limited. What I aspire to is the 30 to 50 people come to this event. They come to the leadership event and then it scales. I don't want to go, I don't, we only have one motor coach for the offsite event. I don't want to go to two motor coaches. I don't want to have to go to lanyards. The alcohol, not having alcohol reduces complexity because I don't have to
sure.
worry about someone sneaking off with a paddleboard at midnight. It's none of that. And yeah, it's a good
Plus
event. You'll see friends and
logistics.
family.
I don't have to pack slacks and a dress shirt and a
No, no,
jacket.
no.
All of
T-shirts and
that.
shorts, flip
Yeah,
flops,
love it.
flip flops.
It's
And you see a
it's an
lot of people
easy.
actually go barefoot during the event. Like when we get to when we get into the room where we meet, it's like, yeah, flip
Yeah,
flops are off, and we're just kind of relaxed.
I love it. It's an easy 1 week carry on event, right? Just
Yeah, ask Harlan what he thinks because
okay.
last year we're standing on the porch of the Lakeview Lodge, and he was just kind of looking out, into the infinity over the lake, and he goes, we just need more of this.
I love it. I love
We
it.
need more of this, whatever this is. So we do.
I'm completely looking forward to it. My wife Raylene is coming along. She's really looking
Yes.
forward to it as well. We looked up the camp where this is at. I don't know anything about it other than what I've seen online, so that looks like super interesting too. It's actually like it's
It's
a,
rustic, but it's clean. It's clean. It's
yeah,
polite. The staff are amazing. Charles loves it,
yeah,
and yeah, it's you won't be indoors all the time. We
yeah.
actually have from 3 till 5 in the afternoon is kind of open time. Get out, get some sunshine, write down some notes, ideate,
Mhm.
journal, or just come out, hang by the lake. I'll teach you to e-foil.
I was gonna say you're gonna make sure you got the e-foil there, right?
Yes, we'll have both e-foils there, and that's good fun. I'll bring you a
All
helmet.
right. What's the water temp like in April?
Uh, at the springs, it's 72 degrees year round.
All the
So
time.
it's
Okay.
brisk, but it's warmer than the Pacific Ocean in the summer.
I
And
know. I live right next to it, man.
it looks warm, but everybody's got wetsuits on. The
Absolutely.
lake's probably going to be 78, 80 degrees.
Oh, okay. That'll
Yeah.
be super warm. So
Yeah.
the
So it's
spring's
good.
fresh, especially in April. Maybe not quite so warm out yet, so it's gonna feel nice.
It never
Uh,
gets warm. It always stays 72 degrees. So it's
yeah,
warm in the
yeah.
winter. Yeah.
I looked it up and I forgot how many millions of gallons per hour flow out of these springs. Like it's a lot of water, right? So.
If you guys have goggles, bring them because the
Oh, really?
visibility is you can't not see as far as you can see. The
Oh,
visibility
wow.
is that clear
I do have
underwater.
snorkel
Yeah.
gear for sure, but
Yeah, yeah, bring
just
it.
bring a mask. Okay.
Yeah, just bring a mask. I mean, you can. There's the head springs which you can swim in after we do the kayak and paddleboard as we come
Hmm.
back for lunch to the north end. But you can bring the snorkeling gear,
Hmm.
and you can swim down next to where the water comes out
Oh,
and get as
yeah.
far down as you can. It's like 30 feet deep. It's chilly, and then
You
you
just
turn and
pop.
go into
Yeah.
the spring, and it pops you back up to
Pushes
the
you back
top.
up. Nice.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm sure the water temp coming out of the spring is actually a little bit chillier, right?
It's a brisk when you get in,
Yeah.
but if you
Yeah.
just get in and
Mm.
cover yourself up and count to 5, you get out and
You're
you
good to
go,
go.
"Oh, I'm fine. I'm good to go." Yeah, it's
Yeah.
fantastic.
We watched some YouTube videos. So there's the long route where you can go like completely north to south, right? And then are we just doing the
Yeah,
halfway
you
point
can.
down?
Yeah, there's like 3 miles in the park, and then there's 3 miles in the residential area south of the park,
Hmm.
and then you can keep going down this. I think it's the Santa Fe River. We're just doing that 3 miles. If you didn't paddle, it would take you an hour and a half to 2 hours. So you got time to reconnoiter. I mean, manatees will swim upstream in the winter. So if we see
Hmm.
manatees, you can kind of like, don't touch them, but you can get close and
Right.
look at
They're
them.
protected. There's
Um,
river
yeah.
otters.
There's river otters, there's manatees. I've never seen an alligator in Itchituckney Springs. They don't tend to habitate clear springs because they're opportunistic. They like to get under murky water and wait right near the
Mhm.
surface. But I've never seen any in the springs. They say you might, but I've never seen them. I've seen otters. I've seen um, tons of fish, just schools of fish swimming around you,
They're
big turtles, and the water is you can't if you're in the sunlight and it's reflective, you can see the surface of the water. But if you get under the shady area,
Mhm.
the the water just disappears. You're just looking
See right
straight
through.
down into the
Yeah.
bottom of, and it's deceptive because when you get out of your if you get off the paddleboard or kayak, which are you going to
Mhm.
do? Which have you?
I've paddleboarded, but in saltwater and waves, and it's a lot more difficult. Maybe on flat water it'll be a lot easier, but
It's
my
easy,
kayak,
yeah.
we'll
Or you can
see.
drop down to
Yeah,
the knees and paddle as well.
yeah.
There's been a couple of occasions where I thought, oh, I'll just step out off this paddleboard, and just before you step off, you go, I should test the depth, and the paddle goes all the way down because I think it's like 8 inches, maybe a foot deep,
Yeah, yeah.
but
It looks like it's right
but
there.
it just goes right down four
And
feet,
you just go to jump
and you're
off your
like,
board, and you're
ah.
like, I'll touch bottom, and you just, whew, just keep going.
No, there's nothing. So you have to. I tell people, be careful before you step out. Just test the bottom because I've had
Yeah.
people roll out of kayaks. They thought, oh, I'll just step out, and they go to step out, and the
Wow.
ground's not underneath them. But you think it is because it's right there. It's just so
Wow.
visible. That's great.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Totally looking forward
Scott's
to
gonna
that.
love it. You'll love it. Yep.
Oh,
Thank you
it's
so much,
yeah.
buddy.
Sure. Yeah, we're totally looking forward to it. So it'll be fun.
Thanks.
When are you back in the
See you
States there?
soon. Uh, week after Wednesday, I'll be back.
Okay.